So what can you do to protect you and your family from this insane inflation? You can do what we did. Stop buying your meat from a grocery store and seek out a quality butcher.
Stick around and watch this video because you'll learn all of the benefits of buying your meat in bulk and how much meat we were able to add to our freezer with about a $2,000 budget with today's meat prices. Okay, so hopefully you don't have sticker shock by the $2,000 figure we threw out there. I know that sounds like a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
What are the benefits of buying your meat in bulk over just going to the grocery store and buying them individually?
You get a much better price on meat. We had steak for dinner tonight and it was cheaper than a pound of ground beef that I would have gotten at the grocery store.
It made it taste that much better.
Yes.
So what did we get for $2,000? What did we actually buy?
We bought half of a cow, a whole hog, and 10 whole chickens. So we're gonna start with talking about the half cow that we purchased. The cow actually ended up being a bit on the smaller side, and we purchased a whole cow and split it in half with a family member.
We actually ended up saving about 20 cents per pound by buying a whole cow versus a half cow. So if you have somebody else that you can split a cow with, there's probably some extra savings there.
Yeah.
So until we started looking into it, one of my big questions was, what do you get if you buy a quarter cow, half cow, or whole cow? So what did we get, Alex?
We got 86 pounds of ground beef, 14 pounds of beef chuck roast, 7 pounds of arm roast, 5 pounds of rump roast, 6 pounds of sirloin tip roast, 5 pounds of beef stew, 14 pounds of short ribs, 17 pounds of round steak, 7 pounds of sirloin steak, 4 pounds of Swiss steak, 7 pounds of ribeye steak, 7 pounds of New York strip steak, and 3 pounds of tenderloin steak, which is also filet. Our family member that we split the cow with also had no interest in the suet, soup bones, or any of the organs, so the amounts that we have for those are from the whole cow. The extras we got were 23 pounds of suet, which I will render down into tallow for cooking, possible other skincare uses. Very excited about that.
I wasn't sure what suet was. We had to look it up actually when we saw something wrapped up and said suet. If it would have said animal fat, I would have known it wasn't what we got, but suet was new for me.
We also got 23 pounds of soup bones that I will cook down and make into bone broth for us. We also got 8 pounds of liver and
Yum.
a 2-pound tongue.
We feel better about an animal that gave its life to us, knowing that we're using more parts that traditionally just get thrown away.
Yeah. So for the total of everything we got from the half cow, it was 238 pounds roughly.
Now when you buy a cow, that's the other thing you should pay attention to, is that you'll actually pay for the hanging weight. Now you won't actually get all of that meat. We totaled up at what we actually ended up taking home with us.
So for the half cow, we got 238 pounds total of meat at $3.49 a pound.
We've been paying over $5 a pound for ground beef, and we haven't bought steak in years because we can't afford it.
Yes.
Not only do we get ground beef at $3.49 a pound, but we're getting New York strip steaks, ribeyes, roasts, all of that is at $3.49 a pound. So like we said, our cow ended up being a little bit on the smaller side. Average hanging weight for a whole cow is usually around 660 pounds, putting the average hanging weight for a half cow around 330 pounds. And then the half cow that we ended up buying was right at about 305 pounds. So at that $3.49 per pound that we were able to buy that beef for, the grand total for our half cow just by itself was $1,066. Or about half of our budget.
But that's great. That's meat for pretty much a year for our family of 4.
So that was the cow, but that's not all that we bought. We also bought a whole hog. So Alex, what cuts of meat did we end up getting from a hog?
We got 20 pounds of bacon, which is wonderful. We eat a lot of bacon. 7 pounds of spare ribs, 4 pounds of ham shank. We got our whole hams cut into half, and we have 8 pounds of ham, 16 pounds of shoulder roast, 7 pounds of pork hocks. We got 25 pounds of ground pork, and 15 pounds of that we had them make into breakfast sausage links for us, which are delicious. We got 26 pounds of pork chops and 20 pounds of ham steaks. We also got 11 pounds of pork fat, which I will also render down into lard for cooking, pie crusts, all the good things. We also got 5 pounds of pork liver and 1 pound pork kidney.
Yum.
So in total, we got 165 pounds of pork at $2.39 a pound. All those cuts, all the ham, all the bacon for $2.39 a pound.
And I can't begin to tell you about the taste difference. The bacon that we eat every week now is the most delicious bacon I have ever had. I don't know what it is, but it is so much different than any store-bought bacon. And we've tried everything. We bought the cheap stuff, middle of the road, and the crazy expensive bacon you find at the store, and nothing comes close to the bacon we got from this whole hog.
It's delicious.
One thing that we customized was that with our bacon, ham, and roast, we had them smoke that. And we were able to choose which wood we wanted. And I would have been happy with applewood smoke, but Alex played the trump card and she selected hickory, which is still really good. So we were a little bit surprised at how little bacon you actually get when you're buying a whole pig. Rather than having the bacon packaged in 16-ounce packages or a pound, we had them do 12-ounce packages, which still goes a long way. The 12-ounce packages that we cook each weekend, I feel like we're cooking a whole pound of bacon.
Yeah, we really can't notice the difference.
So I think by doing that, we ended up getting maybe an extra 4 or 5 packages worth of bacon just to stretch that out a little bit more. We ended up having our pork chops cut at about 3/4 of an inch, where I think the butcher said normally they would do that at an inch. So we did that to get a little bit more quantity when we cook our pork chops.
And we asked for them to be 2 per package.
Yeah, that's another great thing to think through on how you'll have these packaged, because that way you only have to grab out of the freezer what you need. Where when we would shop at the grocery store, sometimes you would come home with a big package of
like 9 pork chops. And then that was extra work with dividing them up and putting them in bags and freezing them.
Also, if you're gonna be ordering breakfast sausage, something we didn't think of was that our butcher actually put them in casings. And we tend not to be a big fan of casings, at least when it comes to breakfast sausage. So that's something we'll change next time.
We also had all of our roasts split in half to make them last longer and stretch it a little bit more for us. And then there are also a set of ribs on a pig, and we had those quartered.
Yeah, a full slab of ribs sounds delicious, but knowing that you only get 2 full slabs and a whole pig, we wanted to stretch that a little bit, so we had them quartered.
We wanted to enjoy the ribs more than once.
Yes. So the grand total for buying a half a cow, a whole hog, 10 whole chickens, plus all the extras we discussed, was right around $1,960. So we were under budget, we got some extras, and our freezer is stocked.
Yes.
Buying your meat in bulk doesn't have to be very complicated, but there are a lot of tips and tricks that we kind of learned along the way that will probably make the process even easier for you, so we're going to share those with you today. So if you've never purchased meat in bulk before and you start looking around, you might be surprised that there are a lot of suppliers. You'll probably find big names in your area and also some local butchers. You'll want to do your research ahead of time and pick a quality butcher, and make sure that they're meeting the standards that you and your family look for. Things such as how they treat their animals, how they're going to package it for you, how they price items if you have any special requests. There's a lot to look into. So when you're out there looking at different butcher shops, some are gonna be USDA certified and some are not.
If a butcher is USDA certified, there are some restrictions that they have. For example, we couldn't take some of the organ meats, and certain cuts had to have a specific name.
Yeah, some of the cuts of meat where we were used to calling something a fillet, if you were ordering at a restaurant, USDA required them to call it a tenderloin. So just some small differences there if you do work with a butcher who is USDA certified. You might be different than me, but anytime I've looked at meat at a grocery store, I've never once really thought about where that meat came from. I know it was a living animal, but I don't know what farm it came from, if it was from a factory, a local farm, or what. So another benefit to buying your meat from a butcher is that you can get a lot more background information and find out their practices and find out where did your meat come from. What do they feed the animal? Are they pasture raised? Do they get fed grain? Is it GMO grain, non-GMO grain?
Your meat is also very fresh when you pick it up. I believe our cow was butchered and it was a 2-week dry aging process. I don't know how long the meat sits at the grocery store, but my guess is probably a bit longer than that.
Now when you call one of these places and you're doing the research, you're probably going to be talking with the person who works with the animals directly, so you'll be able to pretty much ask them any question you can think of, and our experience has been they're always willing to share that information and are happy that somebody is interested.
Some butchers even have it where you can come and see the cow, visit the farm, everything before you get your meat.
So one thing you'll have to think about if you're going to be buying your meat in bulk is where you're going to put it and how much freezer space is going to be required for that. Now all I can speak to is what we purchased. So for that half cow, whole hog, 10 whole chickens, all of that was able to fit into an 18.5-foot cubic freezer, which is pretty large. If you're buying something smaller than that, you can get away with a smaller freezer, but that pretty well fills that freezer with a little bit of room of extra space. We learned that when it comes to pork, it does start to lose its flavor a little bit after about 6 months of being in the freezer. Nothing's wrong with it, and you can still eat it. If you are gonna be buying your pork in bulk, you might just wanna try to buy about 6 months worth for your family. You'll probably wanna think about protecting your investment. If you ever lose power, all of that meat is vulnerable, and you're gonna wanna think about what your plan is if that ever happens. Consider buying a cheap generator. You don't need anything that's gonna power your entire house, but just something that could run your freezers.
One of the options also, if the freezer goes out, or just to have on the shelf for convenience, you can can your meat. You can can beef, you can can pork, you can can chicken. And it makes for quick, easy suppers too.
We probably would have done this years ago if I didn't have so much sticker shock with buying meat, but I really wish I would have thought it through more and didn't just stop there and think that's a lot of money, we're not going to do it. Because the more we put pen to paper, we realized that we would actually save money.
Yes. We feel like we got the deal of the century by buying low and watching the prices continue to rise. Not to mention the quality, taste, and peace of mind that came with our investment.
If you're a bargain shopper, you'll probably get a small high off of buying your meat from a butcher.
In today's economy, it makes even more sense to buy meat this way. If you've purchased meat in bulk before and have any tips or tricks that we didn't mention, share them down below in the comments so others can get the help as well.
If you got any value out of today's video, please click the like button so this can spread to more people, and we'll see you in our next video.